The radical power of vulnerability. How Black excellence becomes revolutionary through softness. Welcome, everyone. Today, I'm going to challenge everything you thought you knew about strength, power, and what it truly means to lead with excellence. I want to begin by acknowledging the profound wisdom that shaped this talk. Insights from my transformative conversation with Andron Williams, whose revolutionary work in empowering Black professionals has literally rewritten the rule book for authentic leadership. Andron isn't just a thought leader, he's a healer of corporate wounds, a bridge builder between communities, and a visionary who dares to imagine leadership defined not by armor, but by authenticity. His impact extends far beyond individual success stories. He's fundamentally reshaping how we understand power itself in spaces that weren't designed for us. Now, imagine for a moment what would happen if everything you believed about strength was actually backward. What if the very armor you've spent years perfecting, the unshakable composure, the emotional restraint, the professional mask, was actually the thing holding you back from your greatest power? This isn't just a provocative question. For Black professionals navigating spaces not built with us in mind, it's the difference between surviving and truly thriving. We've been conditioned to believe that success, especially for Black professionals, requires constantly projecting strength, appearing invulnerable, maintaining perfect composure. Twice as good to get half as far isn't just a saying, it's been our survival strategy. But what if the very thing we've been taught to hide, our full humanity, our softness, our authentic selves, is actually our greatest source of power? This isn't comfortable to consider. It feels dangerous, counterintuitive, perhaps even naive. And yet, the evidence is mounting that vulnerability, strategic, intentional vulnerability, might be the most revolutionary leadership asset we're not using. As Andron powerfully stated during our conversation, the armor we've built to protect ourselves often becomes the very thing that isolates us from genuine connection and opportunity. Let that sink in for a moment. The very shields we've crafted for protection may be the walls preventing our advancement. For generations, Black excellence has been defined by exceptional performance under pressure, by never showing weakness, by maintaining composure, even when facing the most blatant injustices. This approach has helped many of us survive. But at what cost to our souls, our health, our joy? The research is clear. Perfectionism is killing us, literally. The health outcomes for Black professionals attempting to maintain flawless composure in hostile environments are devastating. Hypertension, anxiety, depression, burnout. Our bodies are speaking a truth our minds have been trained to deny. We were never meant to carry this much for this long without relief. But there's another way forward, a way that honors our full humanity while still acknowledging the realities we face. Let me share 3 transformative insights that might forever change how you approach your own journey. First, embracing vulnerability is not a weakness, but a powerful leadership asset that drives authentic relationships in business. When we allow ourselves to be seen, truly seen, we create space for deeper connections that fuel innovation, collaboration, and community. Second, building success as the Black professional involves navigating unique personal histories and family dynamics. Honoring those experiences rather than compartmentalizing them becomes a source of strength rather than shame. Third, the journey toward empowerment is ongoing. Celebrating small wins and seeking community support are essential steps in sustaining progress over the long haul. These aren't just theoretical concepts, they're embodied in the stories of those who've dared to lead differently. Consider Roberto Clemente, the legendary Afro Latino baseball player who broke barriers in Major League Baseball during an era rife with racial discrimination. Born into poverty in Puerto Rico in 1934, Clemente's journey wasn't just about athletic achievement, it was about dignity in the face of dehumanization. In an America where Black and Latino players were expected to endure racism silently, Clemente refused to separate his identity from his work. He spoke with an accent and refused to apologize for it. He addressed racial injustice directly. He showed emotion when reporters disrespected his name or heritage. He prioritized his community alongside his career. When hurricane devastated Nicaragua in 1972, Clemente didn't just send money, he personally delivered aid. When the first three planes of supplies were diverted by corrupt officials, he boarded the fourth plane himself to ensure the aid reached those in need. That decision cost him his life when the overloaded plane crashed shortly after takeoff. What made Clemente truly revolutionary wasn't just his 15 All Star appearances or his two World Series championships. It was his insistence on being fully human in public, his vulnerability, his willingness to show anger at injustice, to speak imperfect English without shame, to risk his career by speaking truth to power, became his legacy. As Andron noted in our conversation, Clemente showed us that our so called disadvantages can become our greatest differentiators when we stop hiding them. This principle applies beyond sports and celebrity. Consider Carlton Hodges, a seasoned African American CPA who rose through Georgia's accounting profession while actively giving back through civic engagement. Hodges navigated industries historically lacking diversity at senior levels while balancing professional excellence with service commitments. The accounting world of the 1990s wasn't exactly welcoming to Black professionals. The unspoken expectation was clear: assimilate, keep your head down, don't make waves. But Hodges took a different approach. Rather than compartmentalizing his identity or downplaying his community connections, Hodges built credibility through technical mastery in tax compliance and audit, joined influential boards like the Georgia Society of CPAs, and mentored others via community organizations like Rotary Club Savannah West. He didn't succeed despite his identity and community ties. He succeeded partly because of how he leveraged them authentically. By bringing his full self to his work, including his cultural insights and community connections, he transformed not just his career, but opened doors for countless others. As Andron emphasized, when we bring our whole selves to our work, including our cultural insights, our community connections, our unique perspectives, we don't just advance individually, we transform entire industries. Even outside our specific cultural context, this principle holds true. Consider Cristiano Ronaldo's journey from Madeira's working class neighborhoods to global football stardom. As a 12-year-old leaving home alone to pursue his dreams, Ronaldo faced classism and skepticism at every turn. What's remarkable about Ronaldo's story isn't just his athletic achievements, it's how he transformed his outsider status into a source of motivation rather than shame. His early years were marked by separation from home and family support systems, echoing many first generation professionals' journeys. As Andron noted, the parts of our stories that make us different, that sometimes make us feel like outsiders, can become our greatest motivators when we embrace them rather than hide them. This brings us to a crucial question. How might our relationship with vulnerability be different if we understood it not as weakness, but as a portal to authentic connection and influence? For many high achieving Black professionals, vulnerability feels dangerous. We've been conditioned to believe that showing anything less than perfect composure might confirm negative stereotypes or cost us opportunities. And let's be honest, these concerns aren't unfounded. The double standards are real. But what if perfect composure is actually limiting our impact? What if our polished professional personas are creating distance between us and the very connections that could fuel our next level of growth? Andron shared this powerful perspective. The very things we're afraid to show, our struggles, our questions, our humanity, are often what make us most relatable and influential. People don't follow perfection, they follow authenticity. This isn't about performative vulnerability or trauma sharing for social currency. It's about thoughtfully integrating our full humanity into our professional presence in ways that feel authentic and aligned with our values. It's about recognizing that when we compartmentalize parts of ourselves, our cultural insights, our community connections, our lived experiences, we're not just hiding them from others. We're often cutting ourselves off from our own sources of wisdom and power. As Andron emphasized, the journey toward empowerment isn't about becoming someone new. It's about coming home to who you've always been and bringing that person fully into your work. For Black professionals navigating predominantly white spaces, this approach requires discernment. Not every environment is safe for full authenticity. Not every aspect of ourselves needs to be shared in every context. But as Andron wisely noted, the goal isn't perfect vulnerability in all spaces, it's intentional authenticity in the right spaces with the right people. This brings us to perhaps the most important insight. The journey toward empowerment is ongoing. It's not a destination, but a practice, one that requires community, celebration, and compassion along the way. Many of us have spent years in survival mode, leading teams, raising families, holding down households, carrying communities. We've worn the cape of strength for so long that it feels like part of our identity. Removing it, even temporarily, can feel disorienting or even frightening. That's why a community is essential in this journey. We weren't meant to transform alone, Andron shared. Finding spaces where we can practice authenticity with others who understand our context is essential. So, where do we go from here? How do we translate these insights into meaningful change? I challenge you today to consider this radical possibility. What if your greatest power lies not in perfection, but in presence? Not in flawless performance, but in full humanity? What if, just what if, the very parts of yourself you've been taught to hide are actually the sources of your most transformative leadership? This week, I dare you to try one act of strategic vulnerability. Share a relevant challenge you've overcome in a team meeting. Acknowledge when you don't have all the answers. Connect your community experiences to your professional insights. Mentor someone by sharing not just your successes, but your struggles. And then notice what happens. Notice who responds. Notice what doors open. Notice how it feels in your body to lead not from armor, but from authenticity. Because the revolution we need won't come from perfecting the old rules of success. It will come from writing new ones, rules that honor our full humanity, rules that transform twice as good to get half as far into fully yourself to go further than anyone thought possible. Your story isn't something to overcome, it's your greatest asset. Your cultural insights aren't distractions from excellence, they're pathways to innovation. And your vulnerability isn't weakness, it's the most revolutionary kind of strength. The world doesn't need more perfect professionals, it needs more whole humans with the courage to lead from the fullness of who they are. The question isn't whether you're strong enough. The question is, are you brave enough to be seen?